Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of This Organized Life podcast. I'm your host, Lori Palau. You're listening in real time. We are officially in April, bringing here. The sun is shining. Everything in Pennsylvania is green, which I love. Things are starting to bloom. We are coming out of what seems like an endless winter, and I'm here for it. But along with spring comes a carried busy, and especially for moms. And yes, I am stereotyping here because as a mom myself and the large listenership of our people in our community are moms. Even if you don't have littles at home anymore, you still carry that mental load that so many mothers struggle with. Again, doesn't mean that if you're a dad that you don't have that and you aren't busy, but the women that I talk to are really overworked, overwhelmed, overscheduled, and they're just over it, to be honest. And I feel you, even though my kids have blown the nest and I'm not in the weeds anymore. I totally understand. And what I wanted to talk about today was about to-do lists, because many of us, present company included, oftentimes feel like you are drowning in all of the things that need to get done, whether those things are personal for yourself, like doctor's appointments, or stuff for the house, like getting home maintenance stuff, or maybe it is stuff for your kids, getting physical, taking them to, they outgrew their stuff. They have to go shopping. They have to, all the different things that you, right? On top of the everyday mundane, like laundry and meals and all the things. So I want to take a different approach to-do list, because some people, first of all, I'm a fan, right? Like, spoiler alert, people, I'm a fan of lists. But there is, believe it or not, I want to say a right and a wrong way, but there's a productive way to utilize a to-do list versus a way that it actually increases the stress level. So if you are somebody that has ever felt like you are drowning in your to-do list, this is the episode that you want to listen to. And if you know somebody that might benefit from this, please do them a favor and just click that share button wherever you're listening or watching. It costs you nothing, takes 2 seconds, and I appreciate it. And I'm sure your friend will appreciate it. So let's talk a little bit about why to-do lists can be a blessing. So first of all, I think for a lot of people, when you were younger, you oftentimes kept things in your head, or when you were single, you kept things in your head. I was always a list maker. I've talked about this before. I just love making lists, but some people are like, oh, I could juggle it myself. There's a benefit to getting it out of your head and onto paper. And I mean that literally or figuratively, like you can get it onto your computer, onto your phone, whatever it is, but getting it, like brain dumping it. And so you're not relying on your memory to remember all the things. The older we get, the more responsibilities we have, and the harder it is to just remember all the things. So why make your life harder? Get it out on paper or somewhere where you can easily retrieve. Again, remember, to any successful organizing system is the ease of retrieval. How quickly can I find what I'm looking for when I need it? And in this case, we're talking about information. What are the things that I need to get done today? How am I going to? So whether that is you keep it in a planner, or I use, again, this is not a sponsor, I use, which is with the Google with G Suite or Google Workplace, I think they call it now. But that's what I use, and it syncs. So I love that. And that's what I use for my to-do list. Again, not endorsed by them. It's just what I use. But I want to talk about the productive way to do it and then the stress inducing way to have to do it. Okay. So let's just go through what makes up for a productive to-do list. Okay. A productive to-do list has 5 key points. Number one, it is clear and actionable, if I could speak. Clear and actionable. So each task is specific and you know exactly what to do to complete it. For example, let's say you need to email somebody. So you say, I need to email Sarah about a podcast collaboration, or I need to call the doctor to fill out blah, 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 versus just writing out work on podcast or make phone. So the more specific you can get, the more clear you are, the easier it is for you to know what you're going to do. And I see this a lot, and we talk about pitching, and we'll talk about that. When people are like, just work, or I was having a conversation with a girlfriend of mine who's in between jobs, and I have to get out there and network. That may be true, but where I think people start to struggle is there's nothing specific about it. So instead of her saying, I need to go out and network, it would be, I want to go to, or I need to go to this particular networking event this time. So writing those things down, getting very clear and actionable. That is the first thing. The second thing about having a productive to-do list is prioritize. And again, this is one of the biggest sources of stress for people is knowing what to prioritize. And really a whole separate episode can be on, and I've done them before, on prioritizing the urgent versus the important. A lot of times we focus in on the fire that's in front of us, even if it's not the most important. And what happens is when we just address the squeaky wheel and we don't address the important things, they continue to get shoved down. And so making sure that the important things that you need to do, things that are time sensitive, things that have a bigger value to you, that maybe are the bottleneck for other things that you need to get done, they are placed at the top of your to-do list. Don't just bury them in the middle. And that comes from having that running to-do list where you put something in and then you just keep it layered on top. So we want to make sure that we have your prioritized to-do list. You can do that by creating your top three. But I've talked about this before, where you basically assign 3 non-negotiable tasks per day. And these tasks are separate from your everyday tasks of chauffeuring your kids around, doing the laundry, food shopping, making meals, all that stuff. That's separate. Your top 3 tasks are the things that you need to do that are different than the everyday stuff. Okay. The third thing, and again, this goes back to being realistic, is making sure that the amount of tasks that you put on your to-do list to accomplish in a day does not exceed the amount of time you have to complete them. What do I mean by that? Oftentimes people will put on like a laundry list of things that they want to get done or that they need to get done. And I get it. These are things that need to get done. However, the math doesn't always math. And oftentimes we will put things that are going to require a certain amount of time that we just don't have to do. And I make the analogy oftentimes about looking at your calendar like a closet, and you keep shoving stuff in. And at some point you're shoving more things on your to-do list than you have space in your closet to fit. And so you have to really be mindful and realistic. If I have 3 hours worth of things on my to-do list and I have an hour to complete it, I'm not going to be able to do it. So don't set yourself up for failure, right? Make sure that you're being realistic with what you can accomplish in any given time. And this, for all my entrepreneur listeners out there, I'm talking to you because entrepreneurs are notorious for biting off more than they can chew. And I say this from personal experience. So really have that honest come to Jesus conversation with what you can accomplish in a given time. The fourth thing is being flexible. And this is when I talk about creating margin in your day, in your calendar. you want to have flexibility to move things around for shifting priority. Sometimes things come up unexpectedly. And even though you had all these grandmaster plans to do A, B, and C, something might go sideways and derail you, and you're going to need to pivot. And so just have that open mind of flexibility. And certain of my Enneagram people, my Enneagram ones in particular, not only Enneagram ones, but I'm talking to you for sure. Even our Enneagram 5, you like that dependability and flexibility, or having something go sideways can easily like derail your mental state. And I want to just be like, it's okay. So having that notion of getting things a little fluid so that they can move it out as needed. And then just having the fifth thing is to understanding like what your goal is. What exactly is it that you're going to feel accomplished so that you feel like I'm productive? As you complete these tasks, recognize that is another rung on the ladder. You are getting much closer. And it's the little things that you do create momentum. So don't underestimate those little things you do. That phone call the unloading of the dishwasher, the email that you've been procrastinating on sending, going through that stack of paper, whatever that is, those little things, they help to create that and reinforce to you that you are on a path of productivity. And as every time you can check something off, literally or figuratively, that's building that muscle memory. Now, on the flip side, let's talk about where sometimes people go wrong when it comes to what you do. Tell me if any of this sounds like you have this one long running thing. And I've talked about this before. I have multiple to-do lists that are grouped by, I get it. I'm a little cuckoo. Like I could be a little bit of extreme, but I also know that in order for me to prioritize and get stuff done and not get overwhelmed myself, I need to bucket the different things that I have to get done. So I know when I'm prioritizing, am I prioritizing personal stuff? Am I prioritizing work stuff? Am I prioritizing philanthropy stuff? Whether it is stuff that I'm doing with our community, is it stuff that I'm doing with Big Baldricks? I know which to-do list to look at based on what I'm wearing. So for you out there listening, look at your work stuff, look at your own personal stuff, look at stuff for your kids. What are the different categories that you have? And that takes a little bit of analysis on your end to really look at that and say, how can I segment my to-do list? Because if you have this one long brain dump of everything, then a focused plan, that just leads to increased stress because you don't even know where to look first. Another reason why sometimes these to-do lists can get stressful is because they are vague and unclear. Again, like I said earlier, the tasks are too broad or they're just undefined. For y'all out there, it could be like, organize the house today. And that's a pretty like, where do you go with that? That's pretty broad. Instead, say, today I'm going to declutter the junk. Today I'm going to go through my shoes. That is a specific. So again, if you're stressed with your to-do list and you feel like it's not working for you, look and see, is it vague enough? Now, the third thing is, does it lack prioritization? And this is a struggle for certain Enneagram types, in particular our 9s who struggle with prioritization. When you look at everything with the same level of importance, it's really hard to decide where to start. So if you are struggling with going, what needs to go first? Sometimes talking it out with somebody is really helpful. I tend to be somebody that is pretty decisive and analytical. So that is part of my like superpowers, but I understand for a lot of people that whole concept of knowing what to do first, especially when you have 10,000 things seemingly on your to-do list, can be overwhelming. So this is where it's super helpful to either talk to a spouse. That's not helpful in your situation. Talk to a friend or call in the professional big guns to help you say, these are all the things, and I need to figure out what is the best way to prioritize these to keep them. And which leads me into, again, the fourth thing, which is that unrealistic expectation of thinking that you have more hours in a day than you actually do. Or you think that a task is going to get completed quicker than it actually is. And especially when it comes to organizing and decluttering, notoriously, and I wish it weren't this way, but more often than not, a project's going to take longer than you anticipate. I can't tell you the amount of time I have had somebody call me and say, oh, I need help with this X, Y, and Z project. And it should just be like no more than a couple hours. And for somebody who hasn't been practicing, like working that muscle of decluttering and organizing on a regular basis and navigating through that decision-making process, it often can take up to double what somebody is thinking about that. And so being realistic is so important. And again, a lot of times because we aren't honest either with ourselves or we just don't truly know how long something's going to take. We're setting ourselves up for added stress and frustration because we are thinking it's going to get done quicker than it is. And when it doesn't, we start to feel like we're a failure or it derails us for other things that we have going on. And then the fifth reason why your to-do list can be stressing you out is because it never feels good. When you have one long list and you are constantly adding new stuff in, it is like you are drinking from the fire hose. It's like you're pouring stuff in and it is just coming out the bottom. And so instead of feeling accomplished, you feel behind. You feel fatigued. You feel exhausted because stuff is coming on quicker. And I'm dating myself, obviously, but if for those of you who have ever watched like that old I Love Lucy skit where, they're eating the chocolates that are coming down the conveyor belt and she can't eat them faster than they're coming down, right? So you think about our stuff on that conveyor belt and we can't manufacture it fast. And so giving ourselves a little bit of grace when it comes to saying we either need to delegate and get some help with this, or we need to readjust what our expectations. So that leads me to 3 things that we can do to fix maybe some of these pitfalls. And we've talked about them, but again, I'm going to reiterate them. One of them is having your top. That is, I live by my top 3. I oftentimes have more things on there, but I know at the end of the day, what are my top 3? Today, my top 3 are recording this show. I do work on a presentation for a talk that I'm going to be doing to a group of realtors, and I have to finish my talk on that. And I have an appointment that I have to go to, and I need to do a little prep work for that. And so those are the top 3 things. Now, if I have extra time, there are about a dozen other things that I could do today. But I'm not even going to think about those things until I address those top 3 that are most important. And how did I choose those things? Time. Like the time sensitivity was how I helped do it. Like I know that I have an episode that's going to be released on Thursday, so I have to record. I know that I'm delivering a presentation on a certain date, so I need to have my assets done beforehand. And I know I have this appointment at a specific time and I have to do prep work so that I come in prepared. So those are the kind of methodical way that I work through how to prioritize. And if you're somebody that struggled with that, then that's when it's really helpful for you to talk to somebody else to help you. Because if you are not naturally wired like that and you're struggling with that part of prioritization, there's no reason that you somewhere. So please know that top 3 rule is really important. And that is where I always recommend people start. The second thing is time blocking. We talked about, I have a time blocking template in our free resources. Time blocking is merely a way for you to, that's your time so that you can do different things. There's not one right way to time block. I time block every morning, or I would say most mornings, to address personal things. So up until 9 o'clock on some days, 10 o'clock on other days, that's the time that I make personal appointments, respond to personal emails, do stuff relating to anything like charitable or other stuff that's non-work related. And then come 9 or 10 o'clock, depending on the day, I switch gears. And then I have a large chunk of time that I am focused in on work. And so personal stuff that comes through, I don't deal with it then until 3 o'clock. And then I switch gears again. And so whatever that system looks like for you, time blocking. And then I do a workout time block, and I do a friend time block, and I do have all different of my life. And I look at them as pieces of a puzzle that I'm putting together. So time blocking. And if you need help with that, again, there are people, whether it's myself, whether it's other people in your life, get help with time blocking if that's an area that you know that you struggle with. And then the third thing is delegating and deleting. Are there things that you have on your to-do list that you just don't even need to do? Either can somebody else do them? Can you outsource it? Can you delegate that? Can you automate it instead of running to the store? Is it something that you can order online to save you that time back and forth? Or can you have somebody else do this said job so that you don't have to do it? And it frees up your time to do the things that are really important on your top 3 list. A lot of times we do things just out of habit and routine, but it doesn't mean that they're smart. It doesn't mean that it's a smart, wise use of our time. And so be honest with yourself and look at the things that you're doing or that you're spending your time doing and saying, is this efficient? Is this an efficient use of my time? Is this something that I don't need to be doing at all? And if I am doing it, like, why am I still doing it? And those are just, you'll be surprised when you start to remove things from your day that you no longer need to be doing, the freedom that comes. So just have that honest conversation. And that's it. I think ultimately, if I were to say a call to action is, most people struggle with trying to figure out what they can get done in any given time. And the more you this, learning how to craft a to-do list that serves you versus stresses you, the better off you'll be, the more productive you'll be, the more organized you'll be, the less cluttered you'll feel mentally, and hopefully less physical clutter will be in your space as well. And if you need help with this, let us know. Like I said, we've got some great free resources on our website. We've got the time blocking template. We've got a top 3 list, things that you can do on your own. And if you feel like I am struggling and I need some outer accountability, find something, whether it's hiring a professional organizer. You can reach out to us and see how we can help. We've got, again, some digital offerings as well as some coaching. And we can also connect you with an organizer in your neck of the woods. Don't let your to-do list rule your life. You be in charge and be the driver. So I hope this has been helpful, guys. I will be back next week with another episode. Until then, I'm Lori Blau. Peace out.